Peace, you want to?
Yes, sir. Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the opportunity to gather here today to see to the needs of the Cherokee people. We pray that you will bless this meeting, open our hearts and our minds to what we can do through the Education Committee to serve the people. We pray that you will be with our soldiers, both here and abroad. Protect them, keep them out of harm's way as they stand in the gap for our freedom. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Honey.
Here.
Honey.
Here's your idea. Thank you, Shelley. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes December 17th?
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, motion carries. Down reports. The birthday girl, Miss Diane Kelly, come on down.
Is it Diane? Is it your birthday?
Yesterday was.
It was yesterday.
All right.
All right, on
we go.
three. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Diane. Happy birthday to you. Woo!
That's the legislative first in the last 4 years.
Thank you. I'm glad. Thank you so much.
We really don't sing happy birthday to anybody. We really can't sing, period. But
Now, I know better. You can even sing in Spanish. And I've heard you. I have it on tape.
oh, really? Okay.
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
Were you sure? Well,
like if you like pina
I do.
coladas. Yeah.
When we went to an NCAI meeting, we went to a Hispanic restaurant, and they had the sombreros, and everybody was singing and
Where's Lost Shaker
serenading
of
us.
Salt?
And he got up there and sang with them, and we have it on tape.
was it Spanish or Cherokee?
I think you were singing in Cherokee.
Oh, okay.
Thank you all so much. After you turned 60, you quit having birthdays. Did you know that? So, you guys are going to stand back behind me?
You got some bodyguards back there.
Right. On behalf of Career Services, since this is the first meeting of the new year, we wanted to say Happy New Year to all of you and hope that this year is a very enjoyable and a very productive year for the Cherokee Nation and all of you.
Good.
So, on behalf of our department,
Well, thank you.
Happy New Year. We have a new program. It's called the National Dislocated Worker, Trade, and Economic Transition Grant. That's a mouthful, I know. It was a competitive grant that we applied for, and we have a new manager for that program. You all may remember him. He was introduced with Marsha White in the voc rehab program. This is Richard Josh Drywater, and he is the manager for that program. And he's been studying the TEGL, which is the rules and regulations for that program, and he's the manager. And he has about 14 staff that's coming on board that's going to be working with him. And I wanted to introduce him so that you would know that this new grant, we're going to be getting information out about it. It will be in the 14 counties. We'll be doing field visits in various places. He's based out of Tulsa and also here in Tahlequah, so he'll be going back and forth. And then he'll be all over the 14 counties with his staff. And this is Heather McInnes. She is one of the counselors. She's based here in Tahlequah, and she's already started taking applications because we have a quarterly report that's due, and we haven't even got our staff on board yet. So we're going to be behind the 8 ball on this one, but she's going to help us. She's already got some applications. This is Catherine Boyton, and if you'll remember last month you all asked about some of the people that were graduating from the language program. Well, Catherine was one of the graduates in December, and she came through that program, and she's been working part-time for us in our department, and she's going to be Josh's special assistant. So we're very excited about her because she already knows what to do and she knows the programs very well. And then next to her is my special projects person who's going to be filling in for Hunter, and her name is Taryn Taylor. If y'all remember Billy Taylor that used to be at Sequoia, that's her uncle.
Yeah.
And Taryn came to me from the higher education department. So she started with us last week, and you may hear from her. And then next is Christy. Which one? Mackey. What? Mackey. Okay, Christy Mackey, and she's the budget analyst, and she's going to be taking care of all the payroll for our youth programs, our adult programs, and our classroom training participants. And she just started with us about, what, 4 weeks ago? And then the next gentleman, you probably know his family. This is Austin Patton. And Austin is the new budget analyst that's going to be working with Josh on this program. And he's also a finance person, and we're anxious to get him. So we've got some good people coming to work for us. And I think the other one is a Holderby that's coming to work for us. And he's going to be working in Tulsa. So we've got several new people that's coming on board, and when they get their program launched, we'll send some information out about it with some general information on who's working in what offices. Right now there'll be some in Sallisaw, some in Tahlequah, some in Pryor, and some in Tulsa. That's the target areas. So the other person down here, I think you all know him, Hunter Palmer. Hunter's my special projects person, but he's going to be working and taking over the economic development. When Daryl Legg left to go to Carl Albert, well, he had part of his responsibilities was reentry, the other part of it was economic development, and then Hunter was working on the other part of it. So with Daryl leaving, Matt Lamont is taking over the reentry, and he's going to be working with economic development. Although if economic development's still staying with me, he's still going to be the one that's going to be working with it. So
Good looking crew.
just wanted to let y'all know who this is. So you can see that there are some young people in this group, and we are trying to grow and prosper within the Cherokee Nation. So
Thank you, Diane.
thank you.
All right, thank you guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you all.
You took a person from higher ed. Did you replace that person?
No, I didn't. In fact, Taryn told me that she'd been trying to come to work for me for quite some time, and I said, well, come on down.
Okay.
Don't tell Ron that. I think he's sitting back there. In Job Corps, I have to report this. We got a 3-month extension. Our new fiscal year was supposed to start December 1 because they had the holidays and they had a whole bunch of grants. Contracts they had to look at. They gave us a 3-month extension, which ends March the 1st. We keep going back and forth every week with the grant officer. We have a new grant officer. We have a new contracting officer. So every time you get a new person, you have to orientate them as to why you're so unique and why you're a sovereign nation, because they don't have any Indians operating Job Corps centers. So we go back through this every time they get somebody new. So we're thinking that they're going to sign off on it probably here in the next week or two. But we've been running on this extension. We got our stats. There's like 14 performance standards that we are weighed on a monthly basis. We're in competition with other Job Corps centers. We like to look at Tulsa's. We like to look at Guthrie's because they are the other 2 Job Corps centers in the state. And we've been exceeding them in some areas. Some areas Guthrie exceeds us in, but they're a lot bigger. Our performance in outreach has been at the 100th percentile since the 1st of August. So we continue to be at 100%. And I contribute that to the fact that we moved some staff that was over in career services over to outreach that knew the area, and they've been working, and we got someone in Oklahoma City. We've got someone full-time in Tulsa. So we're fully staffed, and they're rocking and rolling. Our placement is looking very good, and this past month we have our annual yearly staff development, and we have 2 employees, one at Job Corps and one at Career Services. It's recognized as outstanding employees. Our outstanding employee at Job Corps was our placement supervisor, Julie McPeak, out of our Oklahoma City office. She got the top award. And a girl from Mays County or Delaware County, I'm not really sure. She may live on the border. Harley will probably tell me, or Janice, Brandy Whaler was the top employee in career services. She had more OJTs and placed more people in jobs this last year. She placed a total of about 80-something people that were picked up at this one business. They weren't even on a contract. They actually are employed. So she got the top award. We've got a lot of people coming in for vocational training. If you know George Roach, I think maybe he's lost a little weight because he can't go out for lunch because there's people coming in during the noon hour. And he said, Don, he said, I just stay in my office all the time. And I said, well, George, you need to make up for all the time that you weren't here. So now you've got all these people coming in to see you. But anyway, George has been extremely busy with vocational training, and he's trying to get all the applications approved so that they can go to school whenever the classes start for the spring semester. So if you see George, pat him on the back because he's really had it rough here in the last several weeks. That concludes my report. Are there any questions?
Councilman Crittenden?
Yeah, Diane, the group that's here, I missed, now what's that grant gonna be doing? Or have you announced that yet, or did I
It's
miss
the
it?
National Dislocated Worker, Trade, and Economic Transition Grant. It's a specialized grant that came out from the administration, and we competed for it, and we competed for it with the states. In fact, we got more money than a lot of the states. And this is our fourth emergency grant that we've got through the United States Department of Labor in the last 7 years. Some of them have been for 3 years, some of them have been for 4 years. And we're getting pretty good at it as far as writing them and know what to put in there. This one is going to be specifically centered around retail for the downsizing of a lot of the retail stores that have gone to fulfillment centers like Macy's. They're doing a lot more fulfillment, and some of their stores have closed, and there's more people that are going online and ordering things. So that's the way it is with a lot of the stores. So anybody that was affected by that, well, then those are people that will qualify automatically. But that is not all the people that can qualify for this.
Spent 20.
Any other questions?
Councilman Dobbins?
Thank you, Chair. Diane, does our Job Corps Center have a native preference?
Yes, it
And
does.
also, what is our recruiting area for our Job Corps Center? Where do we draw from?
The whole state of Oklahoma.
Whole state of Oklahoma?
Yes.
So is there competition with the Guthrie, Tulsa centers, or? is it just-
If they're not Native American and they're in that specific zip code area, then Guthrie gets them or Tulsa gets them. But as far as the Native Americans, we cover all the state. We've been working with all the state workforce offices, which is 7, and then we also are working with the Indian tribes in the area. And so our staff have certain parts of the state that they cover. Oklahoma City's got the western part of the state, and then Tulsa's got kind of the central. And then you've got the offices here that work all the way down to the Texas border. They go all the way up to the Arkansas-Missouri line.
It's Oklahoma.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Diane? Yes, Councilwoman Hatfield?
I attend a lot of meetings in Oklahoma City area, western part of Oklahoma, and Job Corps is always there. You know, if it's a place for them, they're there. I appreciate that because it's you do get a lot of information out to, and especially if there are other Indian tribes there. Governor Wolf, she's absentee Shawnee. She was complimentary of Job Corps because you're usually at a lot of different locations. So
Thank you,
I wanted to relay
Wanda.
that message to you.
Well, Julie and Megan and Shandy and Otter and them are doing a pretty good job of
They are.
canvassing the
They
area.
are.
Megan, since she came on board, she gets a lot of information through you, and then Julie has a lot of information, and then we get information about what's going on up in the area, and then I just send it to Julie, and then she decides who can go. But anytime there's something that's going on in that area, then those two ladies are good about going out and doing
They're
outreach.
everywhere.
And then we've got Rachel, who works out of our Tulsa office. She just started, but she's doing a really good job of canvassing the area up in the Tulsa area too.
You did receive a compliment. It was from the governor.
Appreciate it.
And so,
I'll pass it along.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Saying none, Diane, enjoy the rest of your birthday week, and I hope you enjoyed. You have good things in store for you in 2019.
Well, I sure hope so.
I can assure you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, Executive Director's Report, Mr. Ron Etheridge.
Good afternoon. Did Diane say how old she was? I heard her over
She
60,
said,
but I
she
didn't.
said 49.
By 2 years.
I was able to start drawing Medicare 2 years ago, and she's 2 years behind me.
Yes.
So I'm not going to tell anyone how old she is.
Wanda and I are the same age.
We're young.
Okay.
Yeah, 50 years old.
I know there's a couple items y'all want to hear for sure. I'll go ahead and tell you those, and then if you have, any questions regarding anything else, then feel free to ask. Got my crew behind me here. If I can't answer them, hopefully they can. If we can't, combined, we'll get back with you. Couple things. I know you read the newspaper, and last week you saw we're merging. Got a midterm, okay, and I'm going to let you know when we hadn't received any money the previous 2 years because of the formula and the fact that we have been in excess of the 300% based on number of teachers, teacher assistants, and so forth that you have, and so it hadn't played in our favor. Well, we've been without a counselor. We just got through hiring Sherman No Fire, and he started with us at midterm. And most of you know Sherman, been here for some time. We've been without another teacher up there, or a teacher assistant. We've hired that. So just to let you know the way the formula works, okay, as of right now, we're fine. And we have no desire to do away with the charter portion of it, because we're receiving some funding. But it's very difficult to budget when you don't know if you're going to receive the funding or not. And so we will receive half of it by sometime this week. It'll be an automatic draft into our account. And then starting after that, each month, we'll receive the additional sum that's there, a half of it, divided up in fifths is what it'll amount to. And then next year starts a new year, and the numbers will be based. So as of right now, we will continue, or it'll be our recommendation to continue to stay as charter status. Now, we had to go visit Attorney General's office, Education office, had to go visit with State Superintendent and their attorney. Basically, this was explained to us, the fact that we were still charter, we would need to go ahead and do our paperwork. And then once the paperwork was completed and turned in, then they were able to come up with the figures that they did, and the fact that we've been working shorthanded. Now, I'll just tell you, in some cases, it's very difficult to hire there, because the same with Sequoia, because we have a different retirement system. And it's 401k. Versus, the state retirement system. And so once someone's in for a specific period of time, it's hard for them to pull out and go to a private institution or for something that's funded different. And so that's why we either catch them early in life when they're just getting out and ready to go to work, or we catch them late in life. But it's good in both cases. I just found out yesterday, our band director turned 72 yesterday. What a man. I'm going to tell you something now. We'll have a hard time replacing him one of these days. When he finally decides, hey, I've had all I want, it's going to be very difficult. You drive up there early in the morning in football season, you see those kids marching out there on that parking lot. They march because of him. He does a very good job. And so you get that experience, or you get that one coming in that's going to be good. It's what you basically get. And Holly has the same situation up there a lot of times. Now, we're fortunate in the sense that we have people that can speak the language, and so we get that right there, that resource. And so that's immersion. Any questions on immersion before I proceed forward with the other part of this?
Questions?
Yes.
I have a question. So, how much are we receiving, Ron?
How much? It's right in here. It's a little over $500,000. Well, it's $586,519.
So they're going to fund this the full
We'll
amount.
get half of that. I mean, right now, right, the 17th of this month, which is what, this week, Thursday.
So the 300% formula that we were over, are they ignoring that, or are they not penalizing us?
The fact that that we are, teaching the language. Okay, we have to have people in there, of course, as you know, that can speak the language, and so in some cases it requires us to have the teacher assistant that knows the language. And in fact, in all cases, that's why they're there. And a point that needs to be made too. And some of these people are very capable of being teachers, and some just know the language. Just because you know the language does not mean you can teach the language necessarily. Okay? I mean, yes, you know it. Just because you know the game of football doesn't mean you can go out there and play it. And so we have to have both resources we have to have. And so what's happened is the fact that you go into any public school and you're going to see that they don't have the teacher assistant per 10 or 15 students that we have up there. And that's why we're going to exceed the formula.
Yeah, I understand. We exceed the 300% per cap versus the state institutions in the state of Oklahoma. My question is did they ignore that 300% formula in order for us to get the full $500,000? Because we started off with the $500,000.
No, we didn't ignore it. You can ask Holly. We've tried to hire a counselor for a year and a half. Okay, we've tried to do that.
Now I'm talking about the state, Ron. The state of Oklahoma, are they ignoring their own 300% penalty because they're giving us the full $500,000? And that was the issue in the past, is since we kept exceeding that 300%, our funding started off at $500,000 6 years ago, but it's been dropping off every year to merely nothing. And that's the reason we were going to get out of the agreement, the charter agreement with the state. So what changed?
What changed is the fact that it's hard to budget when we don't know if we're going to get it or not going to get it. That's what's changed. And I mean, and it's you go ahead, speak if you got something else that you want to add to it. Feel free to do so.
The formula's not changed. We had a full-time counselor position that was vacant for over a year, and then we also had a teacher position that's been vacant for over a year. So those two vacancies has just put us under that limit.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
those
I got you.
positions are now filled. We may end up right back in the position that we were.
Okay.
So
So we're not exceeding the 300%. We're right underneath it.
Right.
Okay. That makes sense.
And so once we report for the next year, we'll be either right on the line or over again.
Okay. Well,
Because our funding was the question.
yeah.
That's kind of hard to determine year to year.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, if we're getting the full $500,000, I think
That's
it's
a
worth. It's a
yeah.
different story. If we're not getting very much money, we're having to do all the paperwork, stay in compliance. That's another story.
Yeah, we were down to like 150 and trying to stay in compliance and all this paperwork we weren't able to keep up with. So this is a whole different perspective of the immersion now. Now we're filling those positions. That's good, Ron. That's a good report.
Okay. And then the other matter that I know you're concerned about. I get a phone call on occasion. We talked the other day, didn't we, Sean? And anyway, and you tried to get through my thick skull and you couldn't, and I apologize that you couldn't. And
Turned out really well, thank you.
yeah, but anyway, we got it worked out. I mean, it took more sources than the one, but and I feel like we needed to help in that situation. I mean, based on what I was told, and I don't mind telling you. I mean, we had some students that were wanting to enroll concurrently, and they didn't have the results of their ACT score and wasn't going to get the results until early in January. And then when they finally got them, it was surpassed the deadline for them to be able to enroll. And so, that when they got the score, they were entitled to enroll, and it's college algebra. And so you know, we went ahead, and that's one of those cases where, you know, I'm not saying we're at fault, because we were not, okay, and they were not at fault either, okay, and so we're going to make an exception right there. I mean, that happened beyond the time. Currently, we have 373 that are concurrently enrolled, or the applications are being processed, not complete at this time, which is an increase in our numbers from the fall semester. We have processed 1,200 undergrad and grad scholarships, and we do them as just like you would the restaurant. When you walk in and if you order first, you're going to get your order first, and so that's kind of where we're at. We're about a fourth of the way there. It was 4,900, I think, is what we had the first semester. So we're a ways to go, quite a ways to go. So it's just working on them every day. This is the busy time, So questions regarding that?
Oh, Councilman Crittenden?
Yeah, Mr. Easton, and again, thank you. I mean, you.
Well, you were right. I mean, so I mean, we took care of it.
Appreciate you. Yeah, this might be a softball. No, but is that December 28th deadline? Now that's during the break and right after Christmas, and my anniversary's on January 1st. But it's now could that. That's a big deal. You know, school's out, and is there any possibility to maybe make that deadline when school starts? Now, that may be a softball that you can answer, and I'll just say okay. But is that would that help out other school? Because on that deadline, everybody's out of school, and if a Cherokee student, you know, I make plenty of mistakes daily. But if they're needing that one little extra paper to meet that deadline, school's out.
Yeah.
But I know that's not your fault or anybody's fault. But what would extending that out to at least when school resumed for most people, which is usually the first week of January?
For college?
Well, just, you know, high school even,
Yeah.
because they're needing some things from their high school to get concerned.
Of course, Jennifer got to deal with that for about the last 6 years, and I'll let her answer that, but the colleges are applying pressure to us, is what it is. I mean, go ahead. And is there any more than that to it than that?
The hardest part is that they want a commitment letter that they're going to receive funding. We've got to have an application process to let them know if they're eligible or not. And then we've got a couple of schools that are either auto withdrawing the kids because they don't have that letter from us, or that they won't set up charge accounts so they can have their books and everything in place before school starts. So in order for us to get those 400 applications processed before
There's three variables, us, the colleges, and the high schools right there.
Right, yeah.
And so we try to make it kind of in between, before the school semester's out and then before the next one starts. Gives us a little time to process.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that a legitimate cause, like you seen the other day, you fixed it. So I'm good right now.
Yeah.
And we're not opposed to having some applications received and knowing they're missing their transcript or whatever, and we'll get it as soon as school starts. But we'll have majority of the application process.
Thank you again on that other deal.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Does anybody have any more questions? Yes, Councilman Warner?
Comment, we've noticed the same thing with me being here in this position and having a relationship with you guys at Carlisle. But one thing that most colleges, they're out a full week before all the high schools are out. Now those students, typically your high school students not going to know that they can go on, like for ours, the portal, and pull a transcript or anything like that. So I went in and talked to the cabinet at our level, and we've talked about coming back a day or two, like on Monday and Tuesday, being like myself and a couple of my people that I know all the high schools are in, call all them and say, if you've got people that have been dragging their feet, not getting enrolled or needing these documents or anything, come show up. We'll set up a fax machine. We'll set everything up so that we can do that. And I don't know, now you're talking about getting to a lot of colleges to do that, but we're at a lot of meetings with a lot of those folks, and I will start voicing, you know, some of those concerns to them to see if they can do some of that. And it's by volunteer, somebody to come in and work when they're break or whatever. But I think that's one of the biggest problems that I've seen is we're out and then you guys are, and I stress to all my students that are there, you've got this many people working on a whole bunch of stuff coming in. So, if we'll all kind of work together, but each year there's always some little niche or some issue that the issues are different this time than it will be in the summertime, but I think the colleges are getting more educated on our process as far as what Cherokee Nation does, but then also that accountability of the student. But once all three entities, the college, the student, and the high school all buy into that accountable for one another, I think then it starts to really work for the student. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
One other matter, and I won't steal the thunder because it's positive news. Mark, you might share with them what's happened this past week with the bill being signed on Johnston O'Malley.
Well, it passed to go into law, so we're all excited about that. I got the end of I got the pat on the back because I've been doing it for 3 years, but they've been advocating for 20 years, so I'm on the board now. But it's a great deal. It's a great start. We're excited to see where it goes. We go back in February to allocate, kind of group up, see when we got that schools back in, how much money is going to be there, and things like that. But thanks to the Cherokee Nation also for sending me and doing things like that. It's a great deal for the Cherokee Nation and JOM program across the Indian country.
Mark's on the national JOM board, and he's getting ready to have to go to D.C. a couple different times to kind of clean that up just a bit. So, any other questions?
Is the Bureau of Indian Affairs, or they haven't, or BIE, what are they doing as far as trying to restructure the boarding schools?
I tell you what, the next gentleman up, he's got a lot better report on that than what I would have for you. I will tell you this, 2 or 3 years ago, the chief nominated me for the negotiating rulemaking committee, and since then I've been to Billings, Montana, to Albuquerque and D.C. and supposed to have been in Phoenix today, but because of government shutdown, I'm right here. And so, but Leroy's been on the phone with them concerning that, so he'd be the best one to answer that here in just a second.
All right. Is there any other questions for Mr. Etheridge? Saying none, Jennifer, Ron, thank you.
Okay,
appreciate you guys. Next, Head Start, we got Ms. Verna Thompson.
Good afternoon. Does anyone have any questions about my written report submitted?
Questions?
If not, I have 3 exciting things that we're doing. If you get a chance to go by Cherry Tree and Redbird behind CNI, look at the safe room there. It's really, really nice. You have to go in to appreciate it. And now they're starting on Pryor and Nowata doing the preliminary work, so we're very excited. Faculty are submitting requests for rugs and pillows and things to play with, porta potties inside there. They're just getting really prepared for the tornado season. If there is such a season, I think it's year-round. The other thing is we're very excited about our family development workers, our family advocates. We've been trying to find some credential for them for many years, probably 20 years. Finally, there is a credential available, and we have 16 of them enrolled, and they will finish their credential mid-May. And it's 6 hours every Friday they'll meet, and we're excited for them and proud that they are interested in enrolling. Also, I want to mention again about the lead teacher position open in Salina. If you all know anyone, we still have it open. It's been open for quite a while. And pre-enrollment enrollment begins in the next couple of months everywhere. So if you all know of any families that are under income and looking for education for their pre-K, even infants and toddlers, we will be enrolling them for the new school year already, and it fills up fast, so they need to be, before they call you all the 11th hour to say, see if we can get in, now's the time to be applying. So with that, are there any other comments or
Yes,
questions?
Councilwoman Taylor.
That lead teacher at Salina, that would have to be a certified
Yes.
educator?
Yes.
And I'm glad you got the floors fixed.
Oh, those are amazing. How did that happen?
I have no idea.
If you, to enlighten you all, we had floors with hardwood floors. For some reason, if you've ever seen them get warped and just be waves on the floor, but they're fixed.
How many will the storm shelter hold?
Oh my goodness, that's a good question, but it's more than you can imagine in that little bitty room because it will accommodate all of our children and their parents that come to pick them up, plus faculty, and they're not public. They aren't public safe rooms.
Yeah, yes.
But they do hold quite a bit. I'll get an answer for you next month.
Any other questions? All right, keep up the good work. All right. Next, Mr. Leroy Qualls, Sequoia High School Superintendent.
Good afternoon. Always good to see everyone. I hope that you got the report that I sent in. You did? There wasn't a whole lot going on the last 3 days of school before the Christmas break. And I sent it in, so I sent a lot of scheduling and events. But with the high school, I had a meeting this morning with my new job coach. She's been on the job now for a few months. She's paid out of special ed. And she's all excited. Tomorrow's her first day of putting kids, kind of like the school to work program that Tahlequah's had for many years. We've got some type of program set up to where one girl tomorrow starts her first day of work, and it'll be at Cherokee Nation Housing Rehab. And she'll work from 8 to 11. And we've got 2 kids, I think, that got to start today at a different area. She's got out and done a good job of finding places and doing interest surveys to find out what kids are interested in and get those kids hooked up. Finally, we pretty much had our first day of class today. We had BIE testing all last week, and today pretty much just trying to get back into the routine. I heard y'all mentioning scheduling a while ago. Today's first day at Rogers, I think, first day at Northeastern. So coordinating dates and things are pretty unique, to say the least, to get 3 or 4 entities on the same page. Our girls basketball finished third, the tournament champions. Lexi Keys was selected to the all-tournament squad. And as you can see, she scored her 1,000th career point on December the 15th. Girls are still ranked number 1. And that might change at 4 o'clock today. That comes out every Monday at 4. I put on here the boys were 7th. They actually jumped up to 4th after I sent the report in. And I think, I don't know if I got it changed in time or not, but today may be different. They may drop back, they may slide up, but they won the Locust Grove tournament Saturday night and beat Locust in the finals at their place. And that was good. Good for us anyway. They play tomorrow night at Victory Christian in Tulsa. It'll be a tough girls game and a pretty competitive boys game. Locust Grove tournament, we had 2 boys make all tournament, Blaine Garner and CJ Soap. And getting over to fast pitch softball, with Coach Turtle was named the Tulsa World Fast Pitch Coach of the Year, which is, you know, they're up there every year and they're near the top, and it's a great honor for Coach, and proud of him. Our immersion school, I had to mention the Christmas program. I don't know if any of you got to go, but it was in the old gym. It was a full house, and I got to lean up against the wall there and watch Tiny Elvis sing Blue Christmas.
In Cherokee.
In English. Then, when he finished, he sung it in Cherokee. But what was funny was during the English version, the bell rung and high school girls had walked into the gym lobby, And they heard that, and they come rushing out there and looked around the corner, and I said, there he is. And of course, he was about 5 foot tall. But that was probably the hit for me of the whole program. He did a great job. Other than that, that concludes my report. We're just back and kind of back into the routine today. If you have any questions about any of the items on here or it's not on here.
Shaw, did you have a question?
For those of us who want to plan ahead, when will the state basketball tournament be?
7th, 8th, and 9th of March, I believe. I didn't bring my phone in for a reason. Sometimes I got 2 phones, and sometimes I'm getting buzzed back there, and I'm trying to keep my focus right here. So pretty sure it's 7th, 8th, and 9th of March, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
I just have a comment. One of your faculty members had that burnout of Steve Jones, and we had that fundraiser up there. I want to commend your staff for coming together and making it happen. We raised almost $2,000 on that. So commend your staff there in the kitchen for making it happen. I know they volunteered to do that. We appreciate everything they've done.
Well, I appreciate the words because they come together as a team.
Yes.
And they understand there's some donations turned in after the whole thing was over with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Qualls, can you, I guess, kind of talk about your meetings you have at the BIA with the restructuring of accreditation and testing and so forth?
You talking about the standards, I guess?
Yes.
A meeting last week was kind of interesting. Mr. Etheridge mentioned the Rules Committee. The person giving his report and putting out there that the schools are looking at coming up with their own standards and their own accreditation. And that sounded good, but I didn't even have to say anything. There was a superintendent from Florida and a principal from California jumped in, and someone from Wyoming and someone from Montana, and I don't know where the others were from. They're basically saying, the one was a principal K through 4, and they're saying, my kids all go to public school in the 5th grade. What do we want to change our standards to when we've already got a proven item out there? And why are we trying to reinvent the wheel? And then that's when all the others started chiming in, and they had good questions. And I've got a call in tomorrow at noon. Like, who's going to do the accreditation if the state's not going to do it? And, you know, I mean, it's a lot of, I don't know if you probably realize it. There's a lot of work that goes into that, a lot of studies done. I'm real happy with Oklahoma's standards that we have. And I know times change with education. In the 60s, there was whole language. And if you know education, it's kind of like a dog chasing its tail. Everybody looks for something new. What country, do you remember this on this documentary here a year ago, came out to be the #1 nation in the world? Who?
Finland.
Is it Switzerland?
Finland.
It's one of those places. They said, where'd you get your curriculum and your ideas at? And, well, we got it from the United States. You guys just went away from it. We stayed with it. I'm telling you, the United States, they're doing some good things. Times have changed for young people. That's a big difference I've seen. I've been in it a while. The kids can't, you know, the world is more complex for them now. And you know that. There's more disorders now. Special needs is one of the big ways for the future, it and technology, because they both change all the time. Anyway, getting back to what your question, there was a lot of input and people still wanting to talk, and they had to cut them off to go on with the agenda. And we usually have a call-in meeting once a month, and this was last Wednesday when we had this. So tomorrow's Tuesday of the next week, and we've got another one. And that's the first thing mentioned on that. So we'll see with the Rules Making Committee what they choose to do. and proposed for the BIE schools. And an invitation was sent to all 186 schools. And I know there were a lot of call-ins. I was one of the first ones to call in and identified myself. And then I had work to do. I'm sitting there, but that thing was beeping every 2 or 3 seconds. So it was well attended, so to speak. Tomorrow's meeting will be very interesting, since they've got all the feedback from the people that are actually in the schools to the people that are making the rules for the schools.
They set a timeline on when this may or may not happen?
No, I haven't heard that yet. The rules committee's meeting all this year. I doubt seriously if it could be put into effect by next year. I mean, about the only thing you can get done if you're going to make a change is a schedule, your class schedules. It's kind of difficult unless you start working a little bit. Even when we changed at Tahlequah from the Carnegie system to the trimesters, we had to start planning and start getting schedules on paper at least by November, December to be able to make that turn by the next, and train our teachers and get them ready. So anytime you change something that's very drastic, you need a little bit of education as far as what you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
I wished I could answer that better, but
it sounds like there's a lot more planning that needs to take place, and it's still premature. So if you would, just keep us brief and posted as the meetings go on.
Will do.
All right. Thank you. Any more questions? Seeing none, Mr. Qualls, enjoy the rest of your week.
Oh, and one other thing on the shutdown, our school funding is not affected because it's kind of like public school. You get the majority of it up front. We get 80% when school starts, and we get another 20. It's kind of our midterm adjustment, but our 20% comes in December. That piece is not affected by the government shutdown. What is affected, and it's in the same call that I had last week and 2 emails today, if there's one school that has one oven in their cafeteria and the oven went down, they can't get funding for it because the government is shut down. But they do say that if there's only emergencies will be considered. The regional facilities manager has been furloughed, so there's not one. So when you take a piece out of the puzzle, it makes it a little bit more complex, and it's very complex now to start with, to get so many approvals through those tiers going up. There was a sewage breakage line in one of the schools. They can't get it fixed. Some of those things would be a problem. And what do you deem an emergency? Knock on wood, we're doing okay where we're at. But, you know, accidents happen and things happen. Hopefully this will be resolved pretty soon. As far as facilities, we don't get forward funded like we do with our school budget. So if there's things going on, it's on us to try to find out how to fix them and maintain until some more money does come in. I just thought I'd explain that about the government shutdown.
Appreciate that. Any other questions? Yes, Councilman Crittenden?
I just a comment. I'm like Dave, like that's interesting that what you're getting ready to find out about the accreditation and who makes their accreditation, or are you going to stay with the state? But I'd like to stay in the know on that for sure.
Well, as you can probably sense, I'm kind of worried about that. It's almost like we're a rogue school over here and waiting for us to, and who's going to approve our standards?
So
Each state will approve their own. Well, what if we don't have an office in our state?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for.
There's a lot of things still need to be worked out. Will? All right. Old business, none pending. New business, none pending. Announcement, the next meeting is scheduled for Monday, the 11th. Any other announcements? 18th. Oh, the 18th. We move it. Okay, it's the 18th. Diane, thank you for bringing your crew up here. You guys get hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So move. Second. All those favors, say aye. Aye.